Hey guys, and welcome back. Around 6 months ago I tested one of the coolest DACs of that moment, the LAiV Harmony DAC, which had the right price point, an amazing build quality and some great sonics as well. But lacking a volume control and preamp stage, it was clear to me that they needed a new device. And since these guys are headphone listeners like me, it was clear to me that they needed something like a two-in-one unit to satisfy both head fires and also stereo heads alike. And that's exactly what they did with the newest HP2A headphone amp slash preamp. That goes for $2,700 US. That includes free shipping to your door, and I think it's the right time to check it out. Design-wise, it has absolutely the same case, the same dimensions, rounded corners, the same thick CNC machine case with its LAiV Harmony DAC sibling, and that is a very good thing because this one really is built to really big standards, something that you usually see in very expensive hi-fi equipment. After having a look inside and seeing the beautiful craftsmanship and easy serviceability of this unit, I was quite impressed. This is again a CNC machined unit from a single block of aluminum. We have rounded corners and a fresh modern look. And since 8 massive power transistors will be driving headphones, besides having a thick heatsink attached to them, there are 2 openings below and on top of the unit that will move hot air outside the case. We again have an all-metal remote control, which is seriously looking fantastic and it's built to very high standards. You can control both units with just one single remote, so if you have the LAiV Harmony DAC or the HP2A, you can control both of them with just a single remote. Just select the right shape associated with your unit and you'll be controlling that unit individually. We again have some spectacular looking metal spikes and of course some resting places on top that you can see, so you can place the LAiV Harmony DAC on top. But considering that this one is slightly hotter, personally I will put this one on top of the LAiV Harmony DAC. Moving on to controls, instead of having a big massive display like it was the case with the LAiV Harmony DAC, we now have 2 smaller displays. These are again monochrome OLED displays, but please don't worry because the lettering is still big when sitting a few meters away from the listening spot. It now has 3 headphone jacks, out of which 2 are balanced outputs. The volume knob can also function as a menu navigator, which is super convenient when using it as a headphone amplifier. On its back you can spot only a single pair of XLR analog inputs, but if you need an extra pair of XLR inputs or maybe a pair of RCAs, then you can also add a small gizmo called LEXT that will cost you some extra $350 US. There's also a pair of RCA and XLR outputs since it can function as a standalone preamplifier, and you can find 2 12-volt triggers just in case you want to power on or off all of your units at once. Having a peek inside its hood, I immediately realized how much care and attention was put in making a simple to repair unit. There are several printed circuit boards in place, so finding the culprit once things go sideways will be much easier. The signal path is very easy to follow with the naked eye, and I was surprised by the high quality components, by the efficient cooling, by everything really. We again have a massive low noise transformer, a serious DC filtering stage with big capacitors. The headphone amplifier section is built entirely from discrete components, biased into Class A/B operation. We do not have some random power transistors, but the legendary sounding Hexicon lateral MOSFETs that were designed to replicate the sound of vacuum tubes, but without the drawbacks associated with them. These transistors were designed for power amplifiers and not exactly for driving headphones, so additional work went into making that happen. We have 8 Hexicon MOSFETs in a fully balanced operation that are outputting almost 12 watts of power per channel in 32 ohms via those 2 balanced outputs, and almost 4 times less power, so 2.8 watts per channel in the same load via the regular headphone jack. So if you want the best it has to offer, you should use those balanced outputs. The Hexicons are later controlled by a very impressive volume attenuator, which uses a precision-matched discrete resistor ladder encapsulated in a metallic cage for a cooler operation and also to shield it against wireless interference. How about the active preamplifier stage? Well, this one is again using only discrete components biased into Class A operation. So this is a fully balanced circuit as well, ensuring a low channel crosstalk and noise when working as a preamplifier. In a nutshell, this is not a 30% preamp and 70% headphone amplifier or vice versa. This is simply 100% preamp or 100% headphone amplifier, depending on the use cases. Both features weren't overlooked but taken very seriously, and for this reason I'll be trying it in two very distinct setups. I'll be driving plenty of headphones in my office, low sensitivity planars, high impedance dynamic headphones and also a few IEMs, and in the living room it will be controlling two monoblock amplifiers followed by the radio loudspeakers that you can see behind me. This is quite a high-end setup, so I'm pretty sure I'll be squeezing everything it has to offer. So what are you waiting for? Let's hit some eardrums. As you already know, we returned home from the Warsaw Audio Video Show 2024 and we posted our detailed show report, and I recommend checking it out if you want to know what impressed us and what didn't. I went with two of my colleagues, which are part from the Sound News team, so if you want to meet them, please go and check that report. And immediately after that, I started listening to the LAiV Harmony HP2A with my speakers, but first of all with my headphones, because I wanted to know how it will perform right from the get-go. So I took a few days off just to listen to it, just to understand it, and just to get a very strong impression how it performs, so I could deliver an in-depth review for you guys. But first I want to start with the very best solid-state headphone amplifier that I have tried up to this point. That was the LAiV AMP23R. I like that one so much that I bought 2 units. Please don't judge, but it really impressed me very much, and many things didn't make sense to me, but it was very unusual in many ways. It was one of the smallest, one of the most compact solid-state desktop headphone amplifier, but the sound was completely the opposite. It was big sounding, it was truly resolving, very controlled, and very dynamic. It was very punchy sounding, and for me, as you already know, dynamics, the punchy nature of the sound is very important, and this is how I actually heard, I believe, HiFi Susvara for the first time. It was more impactful compared to two benchmark A-HB2 in bridge mode, so that is saying something. And there was something else. Its tone and timbre was following the sound of vacuum tubes. It has that organic flow, that amazing flow of the music. The note binding skills were really legendary, so it sounded like a vacuum tube headphone amplifier, but with a few skills from solid-state headphone amplifiers, like resolution, like control, like tightness. So for me that one was, dare I say, almost flawless sounding headphone amplifier, but it had, you know, a very high price point as well, so that part I didn't like. And also it was a single-ended design at the same time, so I needed to rewire all my headphones and also buy an expensive RCA interconnect cable. Now this one is a spiritual successor to the LAiV AMP23R. We have absolutely the same Hexicon lateral MOSFETs, but we have 8 of them versus 4 on the LAiV. We have considerably more power on this one. This is a fully balanced design, and there is a big surprise, this one is considerably cheaper. It's more affordable while sounding very similar. Not exactly on the same level, but very similar. So indeed, the Harmony HP2A sounds very similar to that LAiV AMP23R while having a much more affordable price point, having more power on top, having a true active preamplifier stage versus that integrated amplifier section that was present on the LAiV. I believe, I know, it has all the right skills to succeed and to impress not only an audiophile but a music lover as well. And there is another thing that you should know. Instead of going with that smooth, easygoing character of the Harmony DAC, this one feels like a brother from a different mother, because this one is no longer relaxed sounding but truly dynamic, very impactful sounding down low in the bass. It's more energetic sounding, especially in the lowest octaves. The transients are going faster on the HP2A, and it kicks harder as well compared to that Harmony DAC. Power-wise, if you stack this one with the LAiV Harmony DAC, then we are getting back some 12 watts of power per channel, which is crazy via those balanced outputs. But let's not forget how impressive it reacts to a higher voltage intake coming from your source. For example, my Rockner Wave Dream Signature outputs some 7.2 volts via XLR outputs. And after connecting that one to the HP2A, I immediately felt a higher amplitude and also a higher voltage flowing through my headphones, like I was getting more power from the HP2A. But of course, for a true family reunion, for remaining in this LAiV ecosystem, I tried this one mostly with the LAiV Harmony DAC because I wanted to know how it sounds as a stack. So I connected two of my hardest to drive headphones that I have in my possession, the HiFi Susvara and also the T+A Solitaire P. And the absolute highest ear-piercing volume that I could reach for a few seconds was minus 18 dB with the HiFi Susvara and minus 25 dB with the T+A Solitaire P. So clearly I had plenty of headroom remaining on top, but usually my volume, of course, was lower. With the HD800S, I was minus 28 dB, so again, plenty of headroom was remaining on top for some DSD recordings, for high dynamic range tracks, for everything else, for dynamics and so on. 8 Hexagon lateral MOSFETs were easily driving these headphones. That was actually no problem. The sound was effortless. Dynamics were truly impressive. Susvara sounded exactly as I know them to be on the Ilium, so very dynamic, very alive, punchy, impactful, so on and so forth. No, the tonality of this amplifier again is quite warm, quite mid-centric, pushing a little bit more life into the mid-range and bass, and you can feel that basically immediately with all of these headphones. I tried it with dynamic headphones as well, and again it works outstanding, and everything else from my collection works, I do believe, equally well with this one. Those Hexagon MOSFETs were made to drive speakers, but with headphones it's like going with 50 kilometers an hour in a Koenigsegg Jesko. You simply can feel the power within, simply waiting to be unleashed with your headphones. I couldn't go higher with this, and dynamics were quite impressive, so I'm pretty sure it will drive everything else with flying colors. There is, however, one small drawback for those Hexagon lateral MOSFETs. They were made to drive speakers and certainly not to drive ultra-sensitive loads like super tiny IEMs like these. And this is one of the few cons that I can say about this unit. So I'm also glad that LAiV Audio is actually specifying the noise floor reading on their website. Many headphone amplifier makers are not specifying the noise floor, but they are doing that, and I'm proud about that. This one has a noise floor of 400 microvolts on its balanced output and 200 microvolts on its regular headphone jack, and a much lower noise floor working as a preamplifier. So I tried 3 of my IEMs, and regardless of the volume, regardless of the headphone jack, I can hear some hiss playing in the background. It's always constant, regardless of the volume. So personally, I wouldn't use ultra-sensitive loads like IEMs with this amplifier. It was made to drive heavy loads, HiFi Susvara, many other headphones. It was not made to drive super tiny IEMs. So yeah, if you want to drive everything with a single unit, you cannot do that with the HP2A because the noise floor is a little higher than usual. LAiV Audio actually redesigned this one several times. They needed to decide to have less power and a lower noise floor and drive some super sensitive loads like IEMs, or much more power output and driving much heavier loads. And I do believe they took the right decision, and finally you can drive basically anything. So for me, this is not a big deal that you cannot use ultra-sensitive IEMs, but it might be a big deal for you if you like to have one single unit and drive everything. Then I decided using this one as a dedicated preamplifier in my stereo setup that you can see behind me. So the Chord Ultima 2 preamplifier went out and the LAiV Harmony HP2A went in. But I had my reservations because the Ultima Pre 2 was made specifically for the Chord monoblock amplifiers. The impedance match is actually, very good, so they work together really outstanding. So I crossed my fingers for good luck because I didn't want this one to sound like my other preamplifiers that I have tested around here. Some of them were collapsing the sounds on top of each other. Some of them were bringing this upfront sound, which I didn't really like. Some of them were placing two bubbles of sounds, so everything was coming from my speakers and not from a big canvas of sounds. Things that I really don't like. I like my sound to be really huge, not only with speakers, but with headphones as well. So that's why the most expensive component in my hi-fi systems is actually my preamplifier. Also, the soul of the music, I do believe, is actually sitting in the preamplifier because it controls basically everything that is going to your power amplifiers. So with the right preamplifier, you can unlock the sleeping beauty, I do believe, of your hi-fi system. And that's what I did with my preamplifier. So after swapping the Ultima Pre 2 with this one, I immediately felt that it's not exactly as tightly controlled and as lightning fast sounding like the Ultima Pre 2, but the sound didn't collapse on me. And also the sound was again quite smooth, organic, easygoing. It was mid-centering, something that I really like, so the mid-range was definitely a little bit livelier sounding. There was a little bit more energy in the mid-range. The vocal cords had a really nice vibration. Everything sounded quite natural as opposed to digital. So digitus and harshness went out of the window, and everything that has to do with, engagement factor, fun factor simply went in. The sound was never harsh and brightness never shown its ugly face, and everything I've got in return was actually lifelike tonality and a highly entertaining sound that infused a bit more life in the mid-range department. I was listening to King by Florence and the Machine, and I was waiting for the moment to arrive. I'm about the 2-minute and 42-second mark moment when everything is truly exploding in such a beautiful way. The soundstage is becoming huge and the sound pressure level is basically 3 times higher, and this effect or this part is actually crippling plenty of preamplifiers and plenty of hi-fi systems because they cannot deal with so many dynamics. Yeah, and I do believe that the HP2A was again big, it was natural, there was enough separation in between the notes. The sound was actually quite holographic and 3D, so again I do believe it has the right traits that a preamplifier, an active preamplifier, should have. And the more music I was adding to the playlist, the more it was clear to me that HP2A was meant to be enjoyed not only as a headphone amplifier but also as a preamplifier as well. People often ask me why I chose to buy the LAiV AM23R versus much bigger, much more powerful solid-state headphone amplifiers, and I have just one single word to reply back to such people: dynamics. Dynamics are very important to me, especially if you know me as a person, as an audiophile, because music speaks to me when my body is hit from different angles and when my eardrums are being kicked as well. So dynamics are truly impressive because, I listen to all kinds of musical genres and, try listening to rock or electronic tunes without getting some punchy bass notes. So yeah, that part is actually quite important. I tried quite a few gentle giant headphone amplifiers, so big, heavy, massive, with lots of power reserves, but some of them were actually quite mellow, quite soft sounding in the bass, and I didn't like that part. But the LAiV was actually very different, and I do believe this one is actually, again, a spiritual successor to the LAiV. So it's exactly as punchy, it's very impressive in the low end, it definitely provides that long sustain, long decay of the bass, impressive layering of the bass. So the bass is of a higher quality on this one compared to many other headphone amplifiers that I have tried before. The bass quality is what really stands out in this amplifier versus cheaper headphone amplifiers that have only a clean bass but without delivering this strong kick. impressive layering, impressive detail and resolution in the bass, because this one doesn't provide you a one-note bass, but more like a layered bass on different levels, so you can, hear different vibrations of the bass. It's very nuanced sounding in the bass in a way, and also strong, impactful, and quite natural at the same time. I do not know what secret sauce LAiV Audio poured over its circuit board, but clearly it does something else compared to other headphone amplifiers. It has a short signal path, it has the right power transistors, it has a precise volume control, and a strong buffer stage, and that somehow frees the sound, not only in terms of scale, but also when discussing dynamics. One of the strongest reasons why I purchased the Transformatic Primavera, because it didn't sound like any other headphone amplifier that I have tried before. The soundstage, the scale, the depth, holography was simply something else compared to any other headphone amplifier. I tried to replicate this effect with solid-state headphone amplifiers, and some of them were pretty good, but who am kidding? I believe that Transformatic Primavera is playing a forever alone game when it comes to holography, soundstage, and depth. Still, a few solid states were quite good in this department, like Inium AM23R. That one impressed me. Flux Lab Acoustics, Mentor, and also Volot sounded quite big and were adding so much air in between the notes, trying to decompress the music and put it on different layers. That was actually quite obvious. All the newest Barson designs, the Soloist Voyager, the GT4, also quite impressive in here, never sounding up front or in my head, more like a back row performance. And also the Halfman Prelude sounded way bigger to its compact size. LAiV Harmony HP2A is definitely following the same trend, trying to put a little bit more space in between the notes, so the stereo separation is again very impressive in this one, and what I've heard via loudspeakers actually moved to the headphones as well. And again, don't forget that the power output, those Hexicon MOSFETs, were made to push the sounds out. So I do believe the soundstage capabilities of this amplifier is actually quite impressive, definitely more impressive compared to, say, affordable amplifiers of Topping, or even compared to something like a benchmark HP4. This one is definitely pushing the sounds farther away. Unsurprisingly, this little amplifier can untangle and unclutter crowded tracks and lo-fi compositions. There were moments when I needed to pause the music and comprehend that a few sounds weren't coming from outside the house, but from the headphones themselves. Some amplifiers will do whatever it takes to show off their highly resolving skills. And I was that kind of person. I liked those kind of amplifiers for a very long time, so I was using those PLFC amplifiers of SMSL, LFC amplifiers of Topping, what else, THX AAA amplifiers. But in time I realized that those are not doing justice to music. Those were somehow removing the soul from the music. Everything was super clear, super resolving, very linear, but the engagement factor was nowhere to be found. So in time I realized that such amplifiers are not really made for music lovers, for melomaniacs like me and my crew. So I moved away and started using all discrete headphone amplifiers, usually biased into Class A, B or Class A operation, tube headphone amplifiers that are putting so much life back into the music. There are many types, many breeds of fully discrete amplifiers using different transistors, but MOSFETs, and especially these ones, the Hexicons, were made to impress you, not with super strong leading edges, super strong contours, super strong resolution, but mostly with their note binding skills, sounding organic and natural at the end of the day. So I do believe overall the resolution of this one is not on the same level with something like a Topping amplifier, with a THX AAA amplifier, but at the same time I really don't want that anymore, that effect anymore, because it sounds like music, not like a rendition of the music. It's complicated for me to find the right words to express how it renders music, but I do believe it does it in a natural way. So expect longer decays, long note sustains, beautiful overtones, and simply longer vibrations, exactly as you hear them in the real life. So the ultimate resolution of negative feedback amplifiers isn't as strong in this one, but I don't miss those effects anymore. Wrapping up, testing multi-featured products around here taught me several things. First of all, hi-fi makers usually don't have the budgets, the time, or the knowledge to make multi-featured products work equally impressive. If it's a DAC with preamp stage, it's usually a great DAC with a mediocre at best preamp stage. If it's a DAC with headphone outputs, then one feature will be more impressive than the other. But the same rules no longer apply to the LAiV Harmony HP2A because it's an impressive headphone amplifier and preamplifier as well. It simply fully drove all my headphones. It had amazing dynamics, a very good driver control, tons of power waiting to be unleashed, an organic presentation, and a simple UI that makes sense to me. And the preamp stage, second only to Chord Electronics Ultima Pre 2. Of course, I didn't try all and everything, but from the ones I tried, this one was actually slightly more controlled, was more fun sounding, and at the same time quite big sounding as a preamplifier. The only two things that I didn't like about this one was a higher noise floor with ultra-sensitive IEMs and also a less than stellar sound via its regular headphone jack. It was definitely not playing so well versus that balanced output. Still, considering all of the above and a small dose of subjectivity from my part, I try to be as honest as possible and as neutral as possible for you guys, so you can better understand the products that I'm reviewing. This is a truly outstanding headphone amplifier and preamplifier, so I wholeheartedly recommend this one. Alright everyone, if you want to know more about this one, then please check out my written review that I left below. It contains about 4 times the information of this video. My name is Sando, keep rocking, and I'll see you soon.